Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, this is now a massive cultural war issue. It's another front in the culture wars. And even President Donald Trump, even the White House now is weighing in because this thing has gotten out of control. So, just for those of you, I'm sure most of you know the story, but for those of you that don't, American Eagle Jeans, a big American company, they sell jeans. Sandy, for example, loves them. She's got 3 or 4 pairs of American Eagle jeans. She says they're the most comfortable jeans you can ever wear. She loves them. I'm more of a Levi's guy, to be honest, but let that go. The fact is, American Eagle, big company, they sell a lot of jeans to both men and women. And they have now hired actress Sydney Sweeney. She's a 27-year-old rising superstar. In fact, I saw her in one movie maybe a year or two ago called Immaculate. It's a horror movie. I thought she was excellent. Honestly, excellent. Absolutely excellent. Anyway, the point is, she's a rising star. She is a white woman. She has blonde hair. She has blue eyes. And they have done an ad campaign starring her. And of course, she's selling jeans. Now, if you haven't seen the ads, think of a younger white woman, again, blonde hair, naturally blonde, blue eyes. It's a little provocative. There's using a little bit of sex and sex appeal to sell the jeans. She's got, jeans, she's wearing pants. She's wearing a jean jacket or a jean shirt, but it's a little bit unbuttoned, so you can see her belly button and a little bit of her cleavage. So, they're using sex and her sexual appeal or sex appeal to sell the ad. Now, that alone, by the way, I swear to you, is already causing tremendous hysteria and has thrown the left into a tizzy. The fact that they're using a blonde woman, and a supposedly an attractive blonde woman to sell jeans, that already has got them in an uproar. But hold on. No. Now they're saying that this ad campaign, which they began rolling out over the weekend, first on the internet, and then obviously on television, that this is now pushing, in their words, this is coming from the Washington Post, from MSNBC, from the media, from social media, on TikTok. You have liberal activists in an absolute tizzy saying this is pushing eugenics, I swear to you, white supremacy, white genetic superiority, that this is taking us back to quote-unquote Aryan ideology of the 1930s. And yep, Nazism. Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi. American Eagle Company, and this ad campaign is a form of Nazism. And now the left is calling for not just a boycott of American Eagle, but they want to destroy Sydney Sweeney's career. She's now branded a Nazi. American Eagle is branded as a Nazi company. Why? Because of these ads. Now, in these ads, this is the part that's really set them off. Yes, she's a white woman who's blonde, blue-eyed. That's already too much. But she plays or uses a pun on words. She's a play on words. She's using a pun, which is, and the tagline in the ad is, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Jeans. But initially in one of the ads, it says Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Genes. And then she'll erase the jeans in the ad and then replace it with Jeans. So, she talks about, hey, some things are hereditary, your eye color, your hair, your personality. There's also an inside quip or joke about the fact that she's well endowed upstairs, if you know what I mean. Okay, she's got a pair of You know, she's got a pair. She's known for having a pair upstairs. And so, she's well endowed. And they're like, hey, that's just genetic. That's just, that's having quote unquote good genes. Now, from this play on words, and I'm going to play you the ads because you're going to say, come on, Jeff, there's got to be more to this. No, that's it. So one ad has her fixing a car and she's in jeans. And then she says, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Another ad has her like lying on the ground wearing jeans and a jean shirt, half unbuttoned. You see a little bit of her belly button, a little bit of her cleavage. And, she's talking about how, some traits are inherited and like genes run in your family, i.e., Genes, and of course, Geans. In other words, American Eagle genes, it's so good. It goes from parents to offspring. We're an American Eagle family because that's how good the genes are. They're in our genes. You get it? From this, I swear to you, this is the rise of a new Hitler. They are going crazy. Salon.com, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Good Morning America, MSNBC, they're flipping out there. This is now, according to them, this is now a cultural shift towards white nationalism, white supremacy, the rise of the Fourth Reich under Donald Trump. Here is the Sydney Sweeney ad where she's just going on about how she's got great genes. It's just her in jeans saying she's got great genes. Roll cut 1. Mike.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
She's fixing a car. She's under the hood. She closes the hood and she replaces American has great genes, Genes. She just crosses it out and it says has great genes, Jeans. And then she goes in the car and drives off. That's it. That's the ad. Now, this is the ad I'm going to play now that has really set them off. She's lying on the ground. She's got American Eagle jean pants, an American Eagle jean shirt or whatever, long shirt, slightly half unbuttoned, so it's a little provocative. They're using sex to sell, which is what advertisers obviously do. And here it is. Here's the Nazism. Here's the white supremacy. Roll cut 1B, a mic.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
And, she's got blue eyes, and of course she's wearing blue jeans, American Eagle jeans, wink, wink. She's got great genes, ha, 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 ha. So, I'm telling you, that's it. I'm giving you all of it. Nothing more, nothing less. Here it comes. This is a black woman. She's a prominent liberal activist on social media on TikTok. She saw the American Eagle ad, and she now says, listen to this, that the racism being exhibited now by Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle is so blatant that it's the rise of the KKK. She starts to break down and cry. The woman is crying as she's filming herself on social media. Roll cut 2, Mike.
It's just so blatant. I keep thinking that people just are not going to believe us until we're hung out there. But then even then, I feel like they'll be like, oh, no. Kind of like they are with.
In other words, until you start seeing lynchings, until you start seeing lynchings. You're just not going to believe us that racism is rearing its ugly head again. Now, this is the same woman. Listen to this. Roll cut 2A. Mike.
You know, I did a post about saying, hey, like, these are the action steps that we really need to see from the good whites. Where I said, I need protection. Put my cash out. And she goes, well, would you just rather white women just not follow you at all anymore because da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, definitely unfollow me.
Ay, ay, ay. Now, it goes on. It goes on. I'm telling you, it's everywhere. They want a boycott. They're launching a boycott of American Eagle jeans. They want to destroy Sydney Sweeney's career. My friends, what they're really saying is that whiteness equals Nazism. That you should be ashamed to be a white woman. Okay, on the internet, on social media, and now in the fake news media establishment, all hell has broken loose. I'm not kidding. This is the mother of all culture wars. The left is enraged. It is going on a rampage, saying that this new ad campaign by American Eagle Jeans with actress Sydney Sweeney is now, this is the cultural shift that Trump wants to push us down the road toward Nazism, their words, eugenics, Aryan ideology, white supremacy, and a restoration of what they're calling, quote unquote, a culture of whiteness. And all of this based on 3 ads starring the actress and, you know, her wearing jeans. Now, remember I mentioned this liberal activist woman that was literally crying over the American Eagle ad. The same woman now is saying, don't even talk to me if you can't see that this is not only racist, but a form of white supremacy ideology. Then according to her, there's nothing to talk about. Roll cut 2B, Mike.
That one guy, whatever his name was, descendant of the oppressor, he's like, well, Lindsay still does a good job and I appreciate her work and labor, so I'm going to still follow her. No, definitely unfollow me. If you are any type of person, but especially a white woman who's coming to this platform thinking you're doing me a favor by clicking a follow button, leave now. Immediately now.
Now, she's a black activist. Now, the only reason why I'm mentioning her color, I don't care about people's race, but the only reason why I'm mentioning her race or her skin color is she's now telling that all white women, I don't care, blonde hair, brown hair, red hair, black hair, whatever, brown eyes, hazel eyes, green eyes, blue, whatever, that all white women have to disown Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle jeans based off of these 3 ads. That if not, then you are part of the oppressor class and you are, whether you know it or not, you are a Nazi. You are a crypto white supremacist and Nazi. And according to her and so many now, most white women are now fascist Nazis. Now, it gets worse. Listen to this now. This is a white woman, activist, huge on the internet. She's the one with all the piercings and the nose ring, right, Mike? That's the one. Yeah, okay. So she's got she's got a huge nose ring, all of these piercings all over her body. Listen now to her. She's one of the influencers leading the charge, calling for a boycott of American Eagle jeans and saying Sydney Sweeney's career must be destroyed. Roll cut 3, Mike.
It's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Nazi propaganda. But a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this?
So, she says there's only one answer. Roll cut 4. Mike.
Don't forget to boycott American Eagle and cancel this person.
There you go. And that's all. It's all over TikTok. It's all over Facebook. It's all over X. It's all over Instagram. And like I said, MSNBC now, wall-to-wall coverage. The big networks now, the morning shows, wall-to-wall coverage. You've got these culture critics coming out of the woodwork, Washington Post, New York Times. Is this now the beginning of the Third Reich? That's what this ad campaign means. I swear to you. You even now, this to me is terrifying. This is a woman. She's apparently a very highly educated woman. She's a trauma surgeon. And ironically, white, blonde hair, blue-eyed. She's a woke, liberal trauma surgeon. Listen to what she says about Sydney Sweeney and the American Eagle ad campaign. Roll cut 5. Mike.
The Sydney Sweeney Aryan Eagle ad is not only xenophobic and racist, it's also scientifically inaccurate. She says genes often determine hair color and eye color. I'm sorry, often? That's literally what they do. If they're not determining hair color and eye color, what is?
This is a surgeon. This is a trauma surgeon. You know, I don't know what city she's in. Please don't let it be Boston. I'm begging you. Can you imagine? Seriously, you get into a car wreck or a car accident on the highway, or you get shot or whatever, and she's the one that's operating on you. Holy whoa, holy shamoli. Anyway, so this is now. Why is Trump weighing in? By the way, the White House weighed in and said that woke ideology needs to be buried once and for all. And that this is the epitome of cancel culture, which it is, and the epitome of woke insanity, which it is. And then Trump's communications director came out and called it this whole anti-Sweeney, this boycott campaign against American Eagle. I can't say it on the air. Bull, you know what? Bull beep, BS, Bravo Sierra. He goes pure, unadulterated bullcrap. So Trump is saying, this is a poison. We've got to stop this. The White House is saying, this is a poison. We've got to stop this. Now, what is to me frightening about all of this, okay, on two grounds, and then I want to go to the phone lines. What they're now saying is they're trying to shame white women for being white. I mean, that's how God made them. They're trying to really shame white people in general for being white. I mean, I'm sorry. That's how God made me. I don't know what else to tell you. So that's the skin color I was born with. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. So being white is inherently, as I said, it's equivalent to being born a Nazi. Unless you renounce your whiteness. Okay, lines are jammed. I'm going to go to the phone lines. Let me just ask a couple of questions, and I want to read one message from Mark on Messenger. Have you seen the ads? Obviously, I'm going to ask all of you. And do you find them offensive? Do you see them as code, and that's what the left is arguing, that this is somehow code for fascism, for Aryan superiority, for white supremacy, for a kind of a new Nazi culture that celebrates whiteness, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people above everyone else. That's what the left is now arguing. Do you see this? And what do you make now of this boycott campaign over American Eagle jeans and over the actress Sydney Sweeney? And let me throw it out there, and I think it's very obvious. I think this is blatant, vile, disgusting, anti-white bigotry. It is anti-white racism masquerading as quote-unquote wokeness. This is not just cancel culture, censorship, and the exertion of political power to silence people. It is that, but it's now much worse. It's as if now they're declaring war on whiteness itself, on being white, as if being white is somehow a disease. And it's a different kind of racism, but it is just as ugly as the racism that you saw, say, under the eugenics movement of 100 years ago. And that's what the left is saying, that this is pushing a modern form of quote-unquote eugenics. They're openly saying that. And they're saying this is something that Hitler would be proud of, that the eugenicists that backed the KKK, and that was very prominent in this country in the 1920s and the 1930s, would be very, very proud of. So do you see that? Or like me, are you asking yourself, what is wrong with all of you? There's nothing wrong with this ad. It's a perfectly normal ad, run-of-the-mill ad. And I see a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress who's famous, who is using some sex appeal to sell jeans. I don't see Adolf Hitler. And if you see Adolf Hitler, you're either insane, literally, you're insane, or you're a stone-cold bigot. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark on Messenger. Jeff, I'm sorry, but if you or anyone else isn't going to say it, then please let me say it. It's time to get off the plantation and out of the cotton fields. Nobody is oppressed anymore. They only choose to be. 2 words, Jeff. Abraham Lincoln. I mean, it's just, and again, just one side point, and then I want to keep, they're saying, well, it's directed against brown and black women. What? So what? If I see an ad, and there are many black actresses and many black models who use their sex appeal to sell jeans. American Eagle actually had a campaign just a few years ago with nothing but black women or brown women, Latino women, promoting jeans. I don't go around and say, oh, if I see a black model, it's directed against me. It's directed against white people. Like, these people are sick. Just because there's a white woman selling jeans doesn't mean it's somehow directed against black women or Latino women. They just chose Sydney Sweeney because they find her young. It's the demographic. She's 27. She's a rising star. They think she's attractive, that she can sell the jeans, promote the jeans, want people to buy it. I'll be honest with you. She sells them really good. They look, I'm serious. I'm like, those jeans look really comfortable, man. And Sandy's telling me, trust me, they are. That's why Sandy only wears American Eagle jeans, but let that go. So when I see someone promoting a product and they happen to be of a certain race or skin color, I don't automatically assume it's directed against every other race. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. They literally now are judging people based on the color of their skin, and they're stigmatizing people, harassing people, persecuting people, targeting people simply because of their skin color. Hitler is laughing from hell. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Enough of me. I want to hear from you. Anthony in Michigan. You're going to kick us off, Anthony. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Mr. Kuhner, it's been a minute. It's great to be back. Hey, the only thing wrong with that is that they didn't play Girls, Girls, Girls by Poison in the background. No, seriously, Jeff. God forbid a young man want a attractive young lady that he may want to wife up, go back to church and have a bunch of babies with. Number one, is this femininity versus feminism? Now, let's focus on the subtle message in that whole video. Do you know what that car was?
I think it's a Mustang, right, Anthony? It's
either a 1965 or 1966 Shelby Mustang GT. Now, do you know what a bad, and it rhymes with gas, Harold Shelby was? They all want to go back to the Nazism. He was a fighter pilot during World War II. Became a race car guy that gave up racing because he had angina. He won Le Mans in 59 in his class, and he went off to build not only the Cobra, but he had to deal with Ford to convert the Mustang to a winner, Jeff. That's the big deal. That car screams of America and winning. America is back. That car is a holy grail car right now. Why don't you have Sandy look on the internet what those things are going for? I think one crossed the auction block at $1 million. There's so many subtle messages here that, I was a huge fan of that car and still am. I remember seeing when I was a kid going up this access road and looking over the local highway and a couple of guys drag racing them. They were rough, brutal. It was a race car for the street. They rode like a tank, but they handled and they went like stink. And it's so indicative of what America is, and she was driving it, and that's got to drive them nuts.
Oh, it's look. By the way, just Ashton now is really like you, Anthony. He's really getting into cars. He loves cars, and he loves the Mustang, any kind of Mustang. He's a huge Mustang guy. Loves Mustangs. Loves these muscle cars, and he loves the ad. He loves that ad in particular. And and the best part is she's doing donuts in the. She's doing donuts in the Mustang at the end of the ad. And you're right. It screams Americana. It screams, Ford Mustang, muscle cars, blue jeans. It's, you know what it really screams, Anthony? Honestly, normalcy. Like, this is the way I would describe the whole ad. It's just normal. Sydney Sweeney is normal. The jeans are normal. The cars are normal. The message is normal. It's almost as if it's saying it's time to return to normalcy from the crazy wokeness of the last 4 to 5 years. That's what this is. And you can see that the left, for them, normalcy means Nazism. That's the way I read this. But I'm with you. To me, that ad is a great ad, and I love it. How she's working underneath the hood of the Mustang and then plugging the jeans and then gets in the car and does a couple of donuts with smoke, just coming out of the wheels, and then she just rides off into the sunset. Look, I'm telling you, these are great ads. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. No, this is very real. People are saying, come on, Jeff. These people are such idiots. This can't be real. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is really real. It's a huge boycott campaign. It's all across social media. It's everywhere on TikTok, everywhere on X, everywhere on Facebook, everywhere on Instagram. MSNBC is losing their mind. It's segment after segment after segment. They're writing op-eds. The Washington Post. You look at these morning shows, Good Morning America. This is like a national crisis. Their words. This is a cultural crisis. That this woman, this 27-year-old, blonde, blue-eyed, white actress, is pushing jeans and going on about having, good genes, i.e. Genes, as a play on words to, Jeans. And they're going on about this is like a return of the eugenics movement of the 20s and 30s. They're crying on the internet. They're boycotting American Eagle. They're threatening the CEO. They're saying they're going to destroy Sydney Sweeney's career. It's a PR crisis now for her and her team. Apparently, her agent now doesn't know what to do. They're trying to nix roles for her in Hollywood. I mean, they're going for this young woman's throat. And all she does is just do a good job in selling jeans. That's all this woman did. So, look, I want to ask all of you, have you seen the ads? Number one. Number two, what do you make of them? Do you see, code for Hitler in there? Do you see, the Aryan race? And to the women, obviously I'm going to take calls from everybody. I welcome everybody. But to the women, especially in the audience, do you feel the need to denounce Sydney Sweeney? Are you offended by these ads? Because many feminists now are arguing that you should be. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jimmy in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jimmy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Jimmy.
Jaguar, the British sports car there, they did an ad campaign with 8 or 9 of these androgynous, multiracial, dressed bizarrely in these body suits and tutus. Their sales dropped 98.5%. The company is shut down. They're not selling any cars, literally. And people probably expected, this jean company to have Dylan Mulvaney on an electric scooter. But they're slowly committing suicide, and, people have had enough. The commercials are so nice. Unlike anything else, it's simple, elegant, she's beautiful, one persona. And it's just so cool. And so just to be so normal, it's so refreshing. It's unbelievable,
Jimmy, let me ask you, it's the elephant in the room. So let me ask you directly. Do you think a lot of this, because a lot of this is coming from liberal white women. There were some black women, some black liberal activists. I played one of them. They're crying and stuff. But for the most part, this is being driven on the op-ed pages, in many, on MSNBC and Good Morning America and, all these other places, that this is, a lot of them are white liberal women, feminists. They're the ones now that are in just a tizzy over this, okay, in a huff and a puff. Are we seeing, is this jealousy? Is this envy? Because they look at someone like Sydney Sweeney and maybe they feel envious, that they wish that they were as attractive as her or perceived as attractive as her and had the sex, have the sex appeal that she has. Is a lot of this liberal white women, feminist women, who just can't stand other women who are much more attractive than they are? Is that what we're looking at? Old-fashioned envy and jealousy.
Decades of feminism and the unhappiness that it's caused. You know what I mean? It's, manifested into this. And it's, Victor Davis Hanson, the professor pointed out, he said that, for example, blacks are 12.5% of the population. Caucasians are still 70% minus 36 million illegals. He says, but in all advertisements, they did a study. It's 52%, blacks, and then other, races, ethnicities, to the exclusion of it, especially men, Caucasian men. And, the term white is almost like a pejorative now, And then you look at the hostility. This has been stewing since DEI originated in 72 with their, policies, that were implemented. And it's, you got to drive a stake to it to stop it. It was used by the Democrats and the left for power, to have a permanent underclass, a grievance culture, they kept, perpetuating through the decades. And this is the end result. And like he said, the crime statistics, he said FBI, again, 12.5%, 50%. The so-called interracial violent crimes, he said that whites, 50,000, but blacks, 500,000. You're 56 more times likely to be attacked by a black, and then they went Hispanic, and they did in group preference. He said the Caucasians are the most tolerant of all ethnicities and races. But you never know it. They keep talking. Remember Joe Biden with the white supremacy, with that bizarre stage he had set up? Well, that's no, exactly. Look, and that's what woke, that's what woke ideology is. It's Marxism. And at the heart of modern Marxism is a hatred for the United States, obviously, for Jews, Israel, Jews, Christianity, and ultimately white people. I'm just calling it the way I see it. And look,
after the George Floyd riots, if you remember, there was a big push in advertising. I don't know what the hell advertising had to do with alleged police racism and leading to the death of this guy in Minneapolis, but let all that go. And all these advertising agencies said, no, we're going to hire many more minorities to do commercials. And you've seen it now over the last 4 or 5 years. You have many, many more minorities now. In all, you name it. Look, if I watch an NFL game, almost every second ad is a minority. So they're trying to, if not compensate, overcompensate, okay, in terms of proportion of the population. But what we're talking about now is even a step further than that. They're no longer just saying, you know, we should have more Asian women or more Asian men or more black men or more black women or more Latinos or whatever in commercials and in advertising. What they're now saying is, and this is what you're touching on, Jimmy, is that whiteness is bad. You shouldn't have a white woman selling jeans because that smacks of Nazism and Aryanism and eugenics and white supremacy. And that's, look, just replace white with Jew, being Jewish. This is straight out of, they keep going on about Hitler. This is straight out of Hitler and the fascists of the 20s and 30s. The ad is too Jewish. She looks too Jewish. How can you have a Jew do an ad? The Jews are to blame for everything in the world. The Jews are the oppressors. The Jews are the ones who are behind imperialism and capitalism and exploitation and racism and all the troubles of the world at the feet of the Jews. Now it's at the feet of white people. There's nothing new in what these people are talking about. They're just substituting now white for Jew. That's it. And that's why I led the show with, and again, I said it on X last night. I'm like, what's wrong with being, I'm not saying it's better. Of course not. But I'm just, what's wrong with being a white woman? What's wrong with having blonde hair and blue eyes? I don't have much hair, but the little hair that I have is, brown and grayish. But, I have brown hair. I don't have blonde hair. I've got hazel eyes. Okay. I don't have blue eyes. But what's wrong with having blonde hair and blue eyes? Many people find blonde hair, blue eyes attractive. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, suddenly now you have to be ashamed for being a white woman? Suddenly now you can't have white women, especially attractive young white women, do commercials because somehow this is offending everybody else in our society? I mean, you would never say that about an attractive black woman. Let's say you had an attractive black model pushing, and by the way, they did. American Eagle, everything that they're attacking American Eagle, just so that everybody knows, they started in 2019, even before George Floyd. Attractive black women models doing ads for American Eagle jeans. Attractive Latino models, women, Latina models pushing the jeans. Very successful campaign. Asian women, attractive Asian women, very successful campaign. Then they went to gays. They wanted gays, openly gay guys pushing the jeans. That they pushed. Then if you went, remember the big thing was supersize. So they wanted larger women, more obese women, and they pushed that. And then, by the way, American Eagle is big behind June Pride Month. So I'm just saying, and by the way, the owner of the company, you can look it up, Jay Schottenstein. Jay Schottenstein is the guy who owns it. He's Jewish. So the company is owned by an Orthodox Jew. They have been pushing black, Latina, and Asian models, supersize models, transgender models, gay models, and they're big behind June LGBTQ, June Pride Month. And this is somehow a Nazi company? That's what the left wants us to believe? Why? Because they take one blonde woman and stick her in, a known actress who's rising, and they stick her in there for 3 ads? and she's selling jeans. You can't make this stuff up. Now, the other question I have for these feminists that are yelling and screaming and belching and complaining, tell me, when Calvin Klein or Ulta or Bud Light, speaking of, Dylan Mulvaney, yeah, and by the way, look what happened to Bud Light. Their sales tanked. You mentioned Jaguar. Their sales tanked. Bud Light, it was a disaster. But Calvin Klein, Bud Light, Ulta, where were all these women when they had actual men pretending to be women, be their spokespeople and push their ad campaigns? You know how many women models, female models, who put in their years in the business? It's hard to get a good contract in modeling. I'm telling you, I've got emails the last couple days over this saying, Jeff, listen, I'm a model and I've been in the trenches for years. You don't know how hard you have to work to get into one of these big ad campaigns. And they're saying all these feminists, when they took big contracts away from actual real women and had men who, by the way, aren't even attractive men, but let that go, pretending to be women, and they give them the plum positions at Calvin Klein or Bud Light or Ulta, none of these feminists complained. They weren't saying this is erasing women. This is discriminating against women. I mean, these people are sick. No, ultimately, I'm going to call it the way I see it. They're jealous of Sydney Sweeney. They're also anti-white racist to the core. But they're jealous of Sydney Sweeney. That's what a lot of this is. I mean, am I wrong? Jimmy, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. And furthermore, think about it. The left now has completely alienated men. They've alienated men. Okay, most normal men. Gone. Now they're going to alienate women, especially white women. So white women are going to say, so we're all a bunch of Nazis because we happen to be white? God forbid, especially if we have blonde hair or blue eyes, then we're like double Nazis? Okay, good luck. I don't know what else to tell you. Paulette in Mansfield. Thanks for holding, Paulette, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi,
How are
Paulette.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I have blue eyes and I have blonde highlights. Oh my God! What I want to know is, where can I buy like 10 pairs of American Eagle jeans in a size 4? Please let me know where I can buy these, because I am going to buy some for myself, my 2 daughters, my granddaughter, and anybody that's got a birthday coming up. You're going to get American Eagle jeans.
Paulette, you're the perfect person to be calling in. How do you feel? You watch the ads, the reaction to the ads. How do you feel? Number one, do you feel that it is somehow code for white supremacy or Nazism or the eugenics movement of 100 years ago? In other words, that you somehow blonde-haired, blue-eyed white women are superior to everybody else. That's what they're claiming. Do you see that in the ad? And B, how do you feel? Literally now you're being attacked for being born with blue eyes, blonde hair, and having white skin. That according to them, you're some kind of a Nazi monster. Unless you disown, your genetic traits. I mean, that's how God made you. Nothing wrong with it. It's how God, we're all in the image and likeness of God. Some made us white, some made us, he made us, some of us black, some of us brown, some of us Asian, blonde, black-haired, whatever, red-haired. That's how God made us. I mean, we're all beautiful in our own way. But Paulette, they're going after you in particular. How does that make you feel?
It's horrific. It really is. I'm proud of who I am and my genes and my family heritage. I am, mostly Irish, French, whatever, English, whatever. I think we're all beautiful in our own way, whether you're black or brown or white or I don't understand why they have to put so much importance on the color of your skin. I mean, they call us racist. That is so racist in itself. You know, it's just getting worse and worse. And speaking of, like, you know, I went into Ulta, you know, to get an eyeliner, and I couldn't find one female person there to wait on me. They were all gay men. You know, I just, they're trying to, you know, cancel white women.
You nailed it.
That's how I feel.
No, but you're right. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to cancel white. They want you to be ashamed to be a white woman and to basically renounce the fact that you're white, that you're a white woman, as if there's something to be ashamed of. Paulette, I'm just curious. Have you seen any of the ads?
Oh, I did. Yes, because they were all over Twitter, and I'd never heard of Sydney Sweeney before. But this is going to definitely boost her career. If they think that this is going to hurt her in any way, I don't know if she's in movies or whatever, but whatever movie she's in, I'm going to make sure I go see it.
Yeah, no, she's been in many movies. I've seen her in one. The movie's called Immaculate. It's more of a horror movie, but she carries that whole film. I don't mean horror as in like slash and blood and gore, more like an exorcism, you know, like a possession movie. And she plays a nun. And anyway, she comes across an evil force. She goes to the Vatican, and it's a possession exorcism movie. So it's the horror is more, it's not so much in the violence on the screen. It's just you're anticipating, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, you're kind of on the edge of your seat. What's going to happen next? She's a very good actress. I've only seen one movie of hers. She's very, very good. So she's so good. I remembered her from that one movie, saying that she's got a career in front of her. Did you, as an ad, I'm just curious, Paulette, what did you think of it just as an ad? Did it work? Did it not work? What, just overall, the ads, what did you think of them as advertisements?
I thought they were brilliant. You know, a little bit sexy or whatever, but that's just, you know, what sells. I didn't think it was, you know, in bad taste. I thought they were very smart. And I never bought a pair of American Eagle jeans before, but I'm certainly going to. I swear to God I am. And this is the thing. Every time they do something like this, I call it the boomerang effect. It is going to absolutely blow up in their faces. What they're trying to accomplish is just going to do the opposite. You know, now you've got people looking around saying, well, you know, I've heard of American Eagles. I've never bought a pair of their jeans, but now I'm going to. And this girl, you know, Sydney, she's becoming famous just because, and thank you to the left, and thank you to you crazy liberals.
Well, Paulette, Sandy wants me to relate to you because Sandy's a big fan of American Eagle jeans. She's been for years. She doesn't wear jeans that often, but when she does, trust me, it's always American Eagle. She says they're the most comfortable jeans you can ever wear. So she wants me to relate to you that American Eagle has a great website. And she's saying, Paulette, you want to buy American Eagle jeans? Go right to their website. You can order everything right there. So she wants me to pass that on to you, Paulette.
Well, I'm on my way to work, and as soon as I get there, I'm going on their website, and I'm ordering 5 pairs. I swear to God.
Paulette, thank you very much for that call. See, and I think there's a lot of Paulettes out there. That's why, you know, before the last break, I said, you watch. American Eagle off of this is going to sell a lot of jeans. This boycott is going to blow up in the left's face. I could be wrong. I don't think so. Dave in Canton. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Dave?
Jeff, let me tell you something. I have a blonde girlfriend at the moment. And, Jeff, she's a AAA all way around, up and down, and everything else. But, Jeff.
So, Dave, you like blonde-haired women? You find the blonde-haired women attractive?
I love blondes. I love redheads. I like brunettes. I'm not picky, Jeff. Whichever one comes first.
Dave, I'm just curious, have you spoken to your girlfriend about this ad campaign?
I did not know about it till this morning, Jeff.
Okay. Dave, what do you make of the whole thing?
Jeff, You know, I look at it just like this. I'm from the old school days. Now, back in the day, Jeff, I'll give you a quick story. Black people came out with all kinds of commercials about Afro sheen, bell bottoms, platform shoes, all the styles and everything else. And there was some beautiful black woman in there. Nobody said nothing about nothing. And a lot of white people were getting black outfits just like the black people had, because, you know, it was a thing back in the...
Yeah, it was cool. It looked cool. Dave, can you do me a favor, buddy? Please hang on. I'm up against a hard break. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the left now goes for American Eagle jeans and the actress Sydney Sweeney because she's white. Literally. Because she's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and she's white. Have you seen the ads? And do you think they're just normal, innocuous ads? Or do you think they're code for the rebirth, as one of them put it, the rebirth of the Fourth Reich? Another one on MSNBC, one of their top contributors, said that this is going to go down in history. This ad will go down in history as one of the defining moments in which American culture shifted towards fascism, white nationalism, and white supremacy. So apparently now this is it. That American Eagle, those American Eagle ads, this is it. It's now launching us, propelling us now to a Nazi America. 617-266-6868. All right, let's go back to Dave in Canton. Dave, I just got to ask you point blank. In the end, is this going to hurt American Eagle, or is this going to help American Eagle? And overall, this campaign now to erase whiteness and to really erase now white women, Dave, do you think it's going to succeed or blow up in the left's face?
Jeff, I think it's going to blow up in their face. I mean, Jeff, what do they want? They got a beautiful woman doing an ad campaign, a good physique and all that good stuff, and she looks good. No matter what she puts on, she knows she's going to look good. Jeff, what do they want? They want Martha Stewart to do the commercial for them? That would be very scary. Jeff.
Well, you know, Dave, I'm not kidding. I've got people texting me saying, Jeff, and they're teasing me, obviously. Jeff, I'd love to see you in a jeans ad campaign. I'm like, yeah, if you want to tank the freaking company, believe me, you don't want me in jeans. You don't want me selling jeans in an ad, because people will look at that and say, no way am I buying that. Dave, is this, do you think a lot of this is just a lot of envy and jealousy from a lot of these feminists? As you put it, you know, a lot of people find Sydney Sweeney very attractive. She's a young rising star. As you put it, she'd look good in anything. Are we just seeing the old, you know, one of the deadly sins? Envy used to be considered one of the deadly sins. Is this just more jealousy and envy from, you know, older, frankly, much uglier feminists who look at someone like Sydney Sweeney and they're jealous. They wish they could be her, and they can't be her, so now they have to destroy her. Is there a level of that in this as well?
You know, it's jealousy. You know, a lot of these people want to get jealous of something that they don't have. And it's like you're saying, if it was a black woman they could have gotten any black woman to do the commercial for them, because there's a lot of beautiful black women out there. Okay? Just by, you know, chance, they end up taking Sydney Sweeney. So it's like, if I could guarantee this, if this was a beautiful black woman model, and there's plenty of them, who was doing the same type of commercial, you wouldn't even be hearing about this, Jeff.
Bingo.
It's getting to be racist, Jeff. You can't do anything with anybody who's white these days without some liberal or some Democrat or some Demorat saying something against what we're trying to succeed and bring back the old days to where life was good instead of dealing with all this crap we got to deal with today. And Jeff, not to get off topic or nothing, but what I heard on the news the other day, that the so-called judge says that Uncle Donald has to give back Planned Parenthood all their money that he stopped. I mean, seriously? Jeff, it's getting to be nonsense. They got nothing better to do except to just trounce on the white man, the white woman, because maybe white women look better? I don't know. But like I said, Jeff, if this is a beautiful black woman, none of this would even be talked about.
Oh, you're dead on. No, you're absolutely dead on. And look, this is the fine, you mentioned Trump, and I don't want to get too much off topic, but for whatever reason, this is now, I'm going by, this is the Washington Post, the New York Times, again, MSNBC, all these big networks. They keep going, and especially on social media, somehow they're now tying American Eagle jeans and this ad campaign to Donald Trump. This is Trump's America. This is where whiteness reigns supreme. And you look at the ads, it has nothing to do with Trump. I mean, it has nothing to do with politics at all, like with any political person. But it's a woman selling jeans. That's it. That's it. And using some sex appeal to sell it. That's it. I'm telling you, that's it. Now, are jeans now? Is what MAGA? What, we've cornered the market on jeans? Like, so is this what they're trying to tell us now? So if you like jeans, somehow what? You're a Trump supporter? I mean, this is how insane and honestly incoherent they've become. And look, they're going to drive even more white women now into the MAGA camp. You watch. This is turning off a lot of women. And not just white women, black women, Latino women, Asian women. They're like, this is insulting. So there's a white model, female. She's doing a good ad campaign. Okay, listen now. This is one of the ads. There's 3 of them, I believe. Could be 4, but I believe it's 3. It's part of their overall ad campaign for American Eagle jeans. And this is Sydney Sweeney. And this is the one that really set them off. So she's almost like lying on the ground or whatever. She's wearing American Eagle jeans. She's also wearing a jean shirt or a jean jacket, whatever you call it. And it's half unbuttoned. So you can see her belly button and, a good part of her cleavage. And she's talking about how she loves her jeans and the play on words. Her GENES, her blue eyes, her blonde hair. There's also an implied, her top. Let's put it that way. She's endowed physically upstairs on the top. So she's, saying, hey, I've got good genes, if you know what I'm saying. And of course, and I also got great genes, which is what I'm wearing. GEANS. Roll cut 1B, Mike.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
And now all hell is now broken loose. I mean, a normal commercial with a normal person in it. And now they're equating literally normalcy with Nazism. John in Dunstable, thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, John.
Jeff, where was the outrage?
John, are you on speaker? Because we can barely hear you.
Like Mac, I'm sorry. I thought I shut it off. I didn't.
Okay, you're coming in much louder, much better. Go ahead, John.
All right. Where was the outrage when Biden and his Communist Party had the transgenders dancing around our White House, and they were practically nude, Jeff? Where was the outrage and when all that was happening? And who's the real racist, Jeff? If you look at the big picture, the communists are trying put men in female sports. Did you ever see them try to put female in men's sport? No. Who's the one, Jeff, that is pushing for females and males too, but females to change their gender? There are only two genders, Jeff. You're a male or a female, and who's the real racist and the Nazi with this, Jeff? This is going on. They want to destroy the American females. They want to poison their minds, and they won't be able to have any children. That's what's really going on, Jeff. And they hate us, and the American people got to wake up before it's too late. And I hope that I saw that commercial, Jeff, with the girl. I was watching Newsmax last night, and I didn't see anything bad about it. My wife didn't see anything bad about it. So, I mean, I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, John, look, there's no problem. It's completely normal. This is what they're fighting. They're fighting this on many levels. And look, you nailed it when you said they hate us and they ultimately want to destroy us. That's really at the heart of this, okay? Look, this has been the Marxist project for over 100 years. They want to destroy the West. They want to destroy America. They want to destroy Christianity. They want to destroy Judaism. They want to destroy religion. But for whatever reason, they equate whiteness with capitalism, with democracy, with America, with the West. Because they look at Europe and they go, well, where did democracy ultimately come from? Where did capitalism ultimately come from? Europe. And they see America as an extension of the West, as an extension of Europe. So they're obsessed with destroying, if you want to put it, the racial, ethnic, historic, demographic core of the country. That's the great replacement. That's why they believe if you just flood the West, whether it's every European country and North America, if you just flood the United States and Europe with enough third world illegals, that eventually demography is destiny. And you will then make America, not only will you destroy America, but you'll make it a socialist country, a third world country, a non-Western country. In other words, a globalist country. So that's their ultimate goal. But besides that, look, they achieved cultural power under Biden. I'm talking now about the radical Marxist left, the woke left, as it's called. And for 4 years under Biden, and look, and American Eagle genes reflected that. They weren't, it wasn't just everybody else, but American Eagle. No, American Eagle, what were they pushing? Obese women, more plus size, bigger women. It's okay. Wear jeans. That didn't seem to sell. Okay. Then they pushed men and saying that men are women now, transgender, and transgenders are wearing jeans. And that didn't sell very well. But the point is, for 4 years, they were calling the shots. They were pushing DEI. They were pushing woke ideology. So everywhere you looked, all they kept doing was attacking whiteness, going on about diversity, equity, and inclusion. They kept forcing people to denounce being white, saying everybody who's white is a racist. Everybody has to go into these special group sessions, and then they got to meet with all these people and then go on about how they're subtly everybody's a racist if they happen to have white skin. This was what it was for 4 years. And what they ended up realizing is nobody wants to buy jeans from some guy in a mustache wearing lipstick. It just doesn't sell. Someone doesn't want to buy jeans from a woman or a man who's 350 pounds. It just doesn't sell. I'm sorry. Human nature is human nature. We have standards of beauty that go all the way back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece. Just go and visit Greece and you'll see what they did in, ancient Greece, the way they sculpted the male body or the female body. Go to Italy during the Renaissance, Michelangelo. Look at how women are portrayed. Look at how men are portrayed. So this has been sort of the standard of beauty, the ideal standard, frankly, not just in the West, all over the world. Now, they tried to destroy that under the Biden years. This is now making a comeback. Normalcy is making a comeback. You know, Mike made an excellent point to me when we were doing our pre-show meeting. I said, hey, did you see the Sydney Sweeney ads, the American Eagle jean ads? He goes, Jeff, I'll be honest. It's the ads that I saw growing up. Like that we haven't seen the last 3 or 4 years under Biden, under wokeness. But he said, it's just a typical, normal ad you used to always see. And he said, Jeff, you remember the GoDaddy ads with Danica Patrick? And they would always use some sex or sex appeal. You know, what does sex appeal have to do with a search engine? They use sex to sell. They use sex to sell cars. They use sex to sell all kinds of products. That's traditional advertising. So he goes, to me, it's just a normal ad. It seems abnormal to the left because they were running the show for 4 years. Now they're not running the show. They want to put the genie back in the bottle, and they can't. They want to go back to the Biden years. Nobody wants to go back to the Biden years. And you see, not even corporate America. You know why? Because they lost their shirts. They lost money. Because in the end, Dylan Mulvaney destroyed the brand of Bud Light. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. You know, having men sell Calvin Klein doesn't work. Having men sell Ulta beauty products doesn't work. Having a man dressed as a woman, 350 pounds, is not going to get me to buy a pair of jeans. And most Americans are not going to buy a pair of jeans. So they tried the woke experiment and they got taken to the cleaners. And now they're saying, no, sex sells. That's why it's been part of advertising and marketing since advertising and marketing began. So that's all this is. So it's just a return to normalcy. And they can't handle being normal. And this goes to my ultimate point. Why are we allowing people who really should be locked up in an asylum? And I'm not saying this for a dramatic effect. Really, these people are not normal. There's the elevator doesn't go to the top. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, buddy.
Mark, how are you, my friend?
Terrific, bud. You know, okay, I'm going to start this off by saying there is no one more white than me. I'm Swedish and German. All 3 of my kids are blonde hair and blue eyes. My wife has blue eyes. I'm not sure what her original hair color is. I think it's blonde, but I'm not really positive. But, you know, Jeff, what you're looking at here, this is a direct result of teaching critical race theory. You know, critical race theory says, Jeff, that before anything, you must view things through the eyes of race, you know, through that lens. And then you have to say, how does this adversely affect a person of color? So you have an entire segment of the population, Jeff, that has been indoctrinated and has been told that you must view things through race first. Don't look at the individual message. Don't look at the merit of it. Just through race, and then base every decision following that as to whether or not this could possibly be offensive to some other, you know, minority race. That's what this all is, Jeff.
Well, Mark, I think you hit the nail on the head, because many of these so-called influencers that are going berserk over this ad are in their 20s. And they're exactly as you pointed out, they're college graduates, they've been in academia, they've been in university, and that's where they've been utterly brainwashed. Their brains have been marinated in critical race theory, and they're just literally just parroting what they've been taught. even these writers, they're all 20-something, white liberal feminists. And again, all just inundated in critical race theory. Mark, I've got to ask you this then, because you've laid it out so well and so simply and so effectively. Because of this critical race theory that they've now brainwashed them in, indoctrinated them in, there's no room for social peace. What I mean is, if everything is seen through the lens of race, and then everything then must be seen how it's going to somehow victimize someone of color in some way, shape, or form, well, then it's perpetual grievance. Where just everything is offensive. Everything leads to a division among people of different races. So it's ultimately a recipe for constant cultural civil war. We're never going to come together. We're never going to have social order or social peace or social harmony. It's just going to be this over and over and over. Constant grievance mongering, races at each other's throats, constantly stirring the pot, and constant nonstop outrage. Is this what American life is going to be like for the next 30, 40 years, Mark?
Yeah, these people, you're not going to get them back. You won't pull them off that cliff because they're so invested in like I said, that lens of racism. They are so devoted to seeking out anything that could be viewed through that racial lens. I think the only thing American Eagle could ever have done to satisfy these people would have been a 350-pound transgender Hispanic black woman with a peg leg. That might have made them happy. I'm not really sure. But, to have, someone that's attractive trying to sell jeans, I mean, the people complaining, Jeff, are with purple hair and nose rings and you got to grease their hips to get them through the doorways. I mean, it's always these insufferable, liberal, progressive, communist, cows that are ranting and raving about how bad this is. And then you have this trauma surgeon. If I were white and I got put into her trauma room, I would not want her anywhere near me. I'd be afraid she'd leave something in me that might kill me later on. I mean, people like that, I don't think you're ever getting them back. And right now the Democrats, their big problem is they've lost men and they lost white women when it came to Trump. Do they really think that coming out and saying we got to get rid of these kinds of ads is going to help them in any way of getting those voters back? It's never going to happen, Jeff. They have ridiculed and slammed men for over a decade now. And now they're going to go after, uneducated white women because they're the ones that believe this isn't a problem. They just keep digging themselves a bigger and bigger hole. And if I were a Democrat and I was a politician, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Mark, you mentioned that, by the way, very good. I mean, really powerful. I couldn't have said it better myself, Mark. You mentioned that trauma surgeon. This is to me what blows my mind. She's white. I mean, I think she's like you, Mark. I would guess. I'm just guessing, but looking at her, very fair skin. She's got blue eyes, blonde hair. I would assume German, Swedish, Norwegian, Scandinavian descent. I don't know if you can get whiter than that. And she's going on about, how this ads are xenophobic and this is cultural white nationalism and this is Nazism. And so Mark, how do you get to the point where a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, educated woman, she's a trauma surgeon, for God's sake. She's not a stupid woman, obviously. I mean, she got to that point. Hates herself so much that she's going on against an ad because it has a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman in it. Mark, I mean, seriously, how do you get to the point where you now have white, educated, blonde-haired, blue-eyed women who literally hate themselves for the color of their hair, the color of their eyes, and the color of their skin?
Jeff, I would say go ahead and hate yourself all you want, but, keep it away from me. I don't need this crap. You know, the overwhelming majority of Americans probably see this ad for what it is, which is it's a pretty clever ad. I think it's pretty dang funny, you know. And for people to get all, you know, quote, you know, pardon my language, but butthurt over, you know, seeing a woman that prior to this probably 90% of men thought was pretty dang hot. You know, having her selling jeans, you know who doesn't find her attractive? Liberal beta males, Jeff. They all want a transgender, quote unquote, woman. They all want to be saddled up next to a 350 pounder that, you know, eats all their food while they starve. You know, they think that social justice it tops everything. That if you're not towing that line and you're not, you know, running to that cause, then there's something wrong with you, Jeff. But for the rest of us, you know, I mean, I'm a live and let live kind of guy. If you want to hate this ad, go right ahead. I'm not telling you not to. I just think you're a complete and total moron.
Mark, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, now, this is from 781. You can text the Kuhner Man 70470-70470. Jeff, it's never enough for some people, especially woke leftists. For the longest time, blacks were complaining about not being represented in the commercial media. Then all of that changed, and we became inundated with seeing commercials with a black man and a white woman, a black woman with a white man. Same with Latino, Asian, the rest. Suddenly now, one commercial shows up with a beautiful white woman, and the racist bigots on the left go crazy because they have Trump derangement syndrome. Furthermore, Jeff, right now, I bet the CEO of American Eagle Jeans is puffing away on a cigar with his morning coffee with a grin from ear to ear. And he's probably thinking of calling the advertising agency and sending them a bonus for such a successful ad campaign. No, I think, you know, I agree with Mark. I think it's a very clever ad. I think it's a well-done ad. I think it's a funny ad. I personally, off the ad, would not have bought American Eagle Jeans. I mean, I would have said it's a good ad and just moved on. But after what the left is now doing, I swear to you, I'm getting myself American Eagle Jeans. And by the way, just to show you how good the ad campaign is, I didn't know that American Eagle, you know, you see Sydney Sweeney, you think, oh, is this only for women? Like, do they just sell jeans to women? No. I looked up online. I go, they sell to men. It's both male and female jeans. Well, I'm going to get a pair. Ashton's going to get a pair. Ava's going to get a pair. And Grace is going to get a pair. So because of this, they were going to get zero. The Kuhner Man was going to buy 0 jeans. Now the Kuhner Man's buying 4. Kim in Brighton. Thanks for holding, Kim, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Sydney Sweeney is to American Eagle like Brooke Shields was to Calvin Klein, for those who remember the long ago ad campaign that nothing comes between me and my Calvins. And in 2020, you mentioned it briefly, American Eagle had run an ad featuring a 300-pounder. And we're supposed to laud her for her bravery, and I don't know what the bravery or courage is, maybe that she is mainlining vegetable oil, but now in 2025, everything's changed, and you have this new ad. And, you know, they say, like, the definition of a crazy person, they have auditory or visual hallucinations. They see things that aren't there. So when you brought up this topic, I first learned about it on Zero Hedge. I'm very off-grid, so I have no idea who she is or anything else. But I certainly took note and thought that is a very, very clever ad. And I thought that they were making such a big crazy thing about just an ad. And so I think for those people who hate it so much, it's really simple. Just do not buy the jeans. And if they're so offended, then they should have their own companies, just like what Jaguar did. Someone else had called in and talked about these people wearing bodysuits and tutus, whatever, and sales collapsed 98%. Go try it and see how that works. But for the rest of us, we are looking for a return to go back to more normalcy. And the liberals, they see things where there's nothing there. I can't believe that they go on and on about an ad when it's just an ad. And yes, she's young and she's beautiful and probably had cosmetic surgery and so forth and so on. But this is aspirational, just like capitalism is aspirational. And communism, in my opinion, is Satanism, and they want to destroy everything. And the foundations of all of this are theft and taking away from others. So why not have someone young and beautiful promoting a product so that people can say, you know, I want to be better. I want to improve. I want to look like that. And even if those people can't look like that, they can aspire to it. And that is what's positive. So this ad is very, very positive. And I think that anyone who invests, you might want to be long AEO. Sounds like a good thing. It's an extremely clever ad. And I think it's very, very positive.
Kim, I'm just curious because there's another whole angle to this, and I think you've really now kind of touched on it, which is that the aspirational nature of a lot of, until a couple of years ago with this woke insanity, but let that go. Just the last couple of years, that abnormality of the Biden regime. That you're right. Advertising since the dawn of time has been very aspirational. They tend to put very good-looking people, both men or women. Look, there's a Speedo ad, and I could never look that good. No, I mean, I don't care if I lost 100 pounds. I don't care if I went to the gym 3-4 hours a day. It was, I think, a Latino guy. Looks to me like he's a Latino, more sort of olive brown skin, dark hair, dark eyes, extremely fit, but just, I don't know if he had cosmetic surgery, but the guy looks like $1 million. And, he's in this perfect Speedo. And anyway, so there's, so look, I could never look that good. If I tried, I couldn't look that good. But for whatever reason, sex sells. Having attractive people, men or women, sells. What do you say to the argument that this is sexual objectification of either women or men? That the problem with advertising, not just in America, but in the West and in most parts of the world, what does someone's looks have to do with wearing a nice, comfortable pair of jeans? Why not just get, a model, okay, maybe she's more on the thin side, whatever, who just looks very comfortable in jeans? Why do you have to get a Hollywood star or a Hollywood actress who's, very well endowed on top and, is blonde hair, blue eyed, many men consider a sex symbol? Why do we need to objectify women or men in order to sell a product? Just sell the product itself. Don't sell me the sex appeal with the product. That it's dehumanizing and objectifying to women. What say you?
Well, to build a brand, you have to do something memorable. And an ad like that is going to be memorable. Whether that's right or wrong, that is just the way it is. If they had plain people or overweight people, products will not sell. And for those people who are turned off to it, I am pro-choice. I believe in freedom of choice. You don't have to buy it, and it's all about choice. Now, if she wants to promote herself, she's young and beautiful at 27, and she's got her assets, that's her choice. Even if I looked like that, I probably wouldn't. It's not who I would want to project, but maybe at the age of 27, that's what she wants to project. And you hope that she has something else inside of her. But on the other hand, it's just an ad. And I do believe in positivity, like you're talking about the Speedo suit. Maybe you say you'll never look like that, but doesn't it make you want to try to improve?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, well, first of all, I would never wear a Speedo because you don't want, trust me, you don't want to see me in a Speedo. I mean, I'll clear the beach. You know, forget a shark or, Jaws. You put me in a Speedo on the beach. Everybody's running. You know what I mean? But no, I see your point. You look at that and you say, hey, geez, you know what? Why don't I get a little fitter? Why don't I start working? I can't maybe look like that, but I can look something closer to that. I can start looking a little bit better. Kim, you mentioned body positivity. This is the flip side. What they're saying is, again, I agree with you completely. I'm just playing devil's advocate. That feminists say that they worked so hard to get to the point of preaching or promoting, quote, body positivity, that a woman should be comfortable in the body that she has. So if she's overweight, why shame her? If she's got a belly, why shame her? If she's more large or obese, why shame her? If she doesn't look in the face like Sydney Sweeney does, in other words, chiseled features, cosmetic surgery, whatever, maybe she has a bit of a bigger nose or a smaller chin or whatever it is, maybe the hair isn't as flowing, that you're shaming women. And that women should be pushing, quote, body positivity, that they should be comfortable in the body that they're in, whether they're short, tall, obese, slim, good looking, not good looking, and that this is setting us back. This is the term they keep using now. It's, quote, regressive. That this ad is regressive to women. What say you?
Well, I don't really see it as an issue of objectification as much as, again, the improvement piece. I think women should move towards health. And I think people are making bad health normal and obesity normal, and it's not normal. Because if you look at any picture in the 60s and 70s, if you look at a group of just regular people, not models, regular people, nobody was fat. And why is that? And so I think when they have people accept how they are, they're accepting bad health. And a lot of people don't link the bad health and the diet and the poisons and all the RFK stuff to this obesity. And I do see the point of objectification, but again, I believe that people who want to improve, it's a positive thing. And not everybody wants to improve. There are people who are 300 pounds and they're totally cool with that, and that's fine.
Kim, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. I'm getting a lot of texts, a lot of emails from people saying, Jeff, remember, and I remember this very clearly when I was growing up, but even until like 15, 20 years ago, doctors would often say, you should lose weight. Like, remember that was always a thing, like not to look sexy, not to be, some kind of a model or to advertise, jeans or sports cars or Speedos or whatever. But it's just, no, really, you don't want to be overweight. You're going to get heart disease. You're going to get cholesterol. You're going to get, diabetes like I have. Like, in other words, it's not good for you. It's not healthy to be overweight. You should try to lose weight. Notice doctors don't say that anymore, or they say it much less frequently because there's such a cultural taboo now because of these, the woke left, because of these idiots on the, these liberal idiots. Your body's shaming me. You got to be, stressing body positivity. So even though I'm 400 pounds, I'm beautiful. And don't you tell me to lose weight. Well, it's nothing to do with whether you're beautiful or not. It's not healthy for you. It's bad for you. Now, and I think there's something else. And I'm sorry, but there's no getting around this. And this is what the left is at war at. Feminism. And remember, I think of the late Rush Limbaugh. What did he call them? Feminazis. That they're feminazis. That they always want to terrorize everybody else and impose their rigid Marxist ideology upon everybody. Well, that's what you're seeing now. This is a form of these are feminazis. That's what you're really seeing. How dare Sydney Sweeney do this ad? How dare American Eagle hire her? How dare they say, you should look good in a pair of jeans? How dare you celebrate a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes? You guys are a bunch of fascists. The only fascists are you. Now, to me, there's no getting around this fact. I'm not saying for every woman. It's not true. But for many women, okay? I'm generalizing, but for many women, women try to be beautiful. Some more, some a little bit less. But look, I mean, there's a multi-billion-dollar cosmetics industry. That's why women wear lipstick. That's why women wear makeup. That's why women, it's not like men. Well, things are changing with men too. They do a lot more grooming, but they don't just go to cut their hair. They get their hair styled. They make sure often it's dyed. They want their hair to look really good. They like to wear some nice jewelry. They tend to be, really like they want to wear nicer clothes. They want to look good. And so women want to look as beautiful as they possibly can. Now, there's a standard of beauty that's going back thousands and thousands of years. Okay, best audience in the business. I know, I say it all the time, but it's true. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, this was sent to me by 703. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470. I had no idea that this had even taken place, but apparently it did. So, it is a picture of Beyonce, the famous black singer. And she apparently a couple years ago did a huge ad campaign, not for American Eagle, but for Levi's jeans. And this is the picture that went with the ad. The person sent it to me. It's Beyonce wearing, very similar, by the way, to Sydney Sweeney. So you can see a lot of her cleavage. Her assets are being highlighted. Let's put it that way. She's obviously black, but she's got long blonde hair. She obviously dyed her hair blonde. And she has that kind of denim, sultry look. The blonde hair denim, sultry look that Sweeney is capturing in her ad campaign. And honestly, it's almost identical to what they did with Sweeney, except she happens to be a black woman with blonde hair, but, definitely using the sex appeal. And Sweeney is white with the blonde hair using the sex appeal. But it's true. Just as this person said, Jeff, you want to talk about the most blatant double standard. Look at this picture. Just going to leave this picture from Beyonce's Levi's campaign right here for those saying Sydney Sweeney with her blonde hair, denim, sultry look is quote unquote racist. The left never cared. They never cared about Beyonce. And yes, she was pushing blonde hair. She was pushing sex. She was pushing good genes, and it was all fine. So what? So we've really now identified it. You just don't like the fact that she's a white woman. It just comes down to race now, doesn't it? Because everything else Beyonce, that Sydney Sweeney is doing, Beyonce did in her ad. Everything. Even the way she wears the jeans, even though the way, it's kind of like, the belly button and you can see the top, her breasts or a good part of her breasts. I mean, it's to a T, the same thing. They're using sex to sell. And they like blonde hair for whatever reason. So, no, it's anti-white racism. That's what this is. Period. Full stop. Dave in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dave. And welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
Very good. How are you, Dave?
Not too bad. First off, I just want to say that my wife, who is blonde-haired and blue eyes, and every time that she swings her leg over her Harley-Davidson or climbs into my Ford pickup truck, she looks great in those American Eagle jeans. That's just the deal. And also, if I may add, I'm surprised none of your other listeners have pointed this out, because it's a very smart crew that listens to your show. And that's this. The age-old question. The reason why all these feminazis, as you say, are upset is because their ass does look fat in those jeans. Simple as that.
So you think ultimately this is just about petty envy and jealousy?
I think a lot of it is. But on a serious note, if I might say this, you know, they say it's Nazi, it's this, it's that. I mean, if it wasn't for the liberals, I mean, most of us would have kind of put an Adolf Hitler in the background. But no, he's more popular than Elvis, thanks to these people. But one thing is this. This guy, Zohan Marani, or whatever the hell.
Mamdani, Zoran Mamdani.
Thank you. Actually, I don't really care that I pronounce his name wrong. But he is a true Nazi, okay? He is a true anti-Semite. But yet, these same people, they don't care about that. It's only convenient to be a Nazi when it helps them. Just wanted to say.
Well, you know, Dave, look, I love your points. And I can only add and piggyback off of what you're saying. Look, I'll bet you dollars to donuts. 999 out of 1,000 of these people now that are on this warpath against American Eagle and against Sydney Sweeney, I bet you they support Hamas. I guarantee you. So actual, real Nazis, they don't care. Like you mentioned, Zoran Mamdani. Not only is he a Jew hater, he's a big Hamas supporter. Okay, loves Hamas, can't get enough of Hamas. So they vote for actual modern day Nazis and fascists. But they call anybody who disagrees with them or something they don't like, Nazi. And then you're right. Look, we would have buried Hitler, my God, a long time ago. The only ones who keep resuscitating him from the grave over and over and over are these woke liberal idiots who don't know Hitler, who don't know Nazism, who know nothing about the Third Reich. Like, they're so dumb. Honestly, they're so historically ignorant. It's mind-numbing. It should almost be illegal. And you're right. They can't stop talking about the guy. It's what one writer famously said, Hitler ad absurdum. In other words, everything is Hitler. Nonstop. Everything is Hitler. And has nothing to do with Hitler. So, do you honestly think Hitler would support an American company, A, he hated America, B, owned by an Orthodox Jew, that's the owner of American Eagle, Jay Schottenstein, who promotes black models, Latino models, supports Pride Month, supports transgenderism, supports gay models? You really think a liberal company like American Eagle that owned by a Jew would somehow Hitler would like something like that? They're nuts. Wee-oo. Again, the inmates are running the asylum. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who is the racist? Sydney Sweeney, who sells jeans by saying she has good ones, or liberal influencers, these woke influencers who now are telling white people to unfollow them? In other words, who's really the racist here? Sydney Sweeney or her moonbat critics? A, Sydney Sweeney. B, these influencers. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in National ER. You can also vote via X. And again, last night I was very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in National ER, at the Kuhner Report. I'm a B on this all the way. Honestly, they're dripping, they're inundated with anti-white racism. It's embarrassing. And honestly, it's sickening both at the same time. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And what I'm hoping now is with Trump weighing in on this, saying that this is BS, this is now pure racial hatred being directed against a company and a woman simply because of the color of her skin and the color of her hair and the color of her eyes, and that it's time to really stand up to the racist left. I hope this is going to engage and mobilize even more people. And part of me is really hoping, not that I have a stake in this, but I have no share, or I don't own one stock, any stock in an American Eagle. It would be illegal for me to be plugging American Eagle if I had any stock in it. But I really hope that American Eagle gets a huge financial windfall. I hope they make a bundle off of this. I hope people buy American Eagle jeans and really make it one of the most successful ad campaigns in history. Just to really teach these, woke idiots, these radical leftists, they're communists, once and for all, that we don't want their critical race theory. We don't want their racial hatred. We don't want their woke ideology. It is a cancer and a poison. And now they're turning their guns on white women. 617-266-6868. Maria in Ludlow. Thanks for holding, Maria, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Maria, how are you?
Oh, my goodness, Jeff. I am just at awe with these buffoons. I just can't. These feminists, they are the epitome of racism. They are feminazis. That's exactly what they are. They hate women. They have no problem on shaming this beautiful young lady. It's quite pitiful. It's shameful, Jeff. They all deserve to be smacked in the face. They all are, again, epitome of racist. Everything they see, everything these woke liberals, schmacarellos, it's all about color. All about color. I mean, it's not even, then I don't even call them hypocrites anymore, Jeff. They're not hypocrites. It's like a freaking religion, a cult for these buffoons. They're all little sheep. One does or says something, and they all go, meh, meh, they all follow suit. They're all sheep. That's exactly what they are. It's a religion. They're all lunatics, okay? I am so proud of this young lady. Good for her. And I hope the American Eagle does not take this ad off the air. I hope they make more. They should make more. I will say my age. I am going to be 49 years old. I have no shame on saying it, okay? My Portuguese behind, Sandy has been such a great inspiration to me. Love you, Sandy, by the way. I have lost over 100 pounds.
Wow. And, Maria, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you very much. Miss Sandy's been amazing. And I'm wearing clothes now that I know my Portuguese behind did not look good before. And I feel much sexier now. The way I dress now, different clothes, I feel way much better about myself. Am I where I want to be? No. But I am so happy where I am. And you bet you're behind. I am going today to a place that I despise going to, but I'm going. I hate them all with every being in my body. But my Portuguese behind is going to go there today with my child to go and buy some American Eagle jeans. And I am going to walk around proudly showing off my Portuguese sexy ass on those new jeans today.
Good for you, Maria. Maria, if you don't mind me asking, and I'm just curious because, obviously, you're of Portuguese descent, so, you're a white woman, right? The fact now that the left and these radical woke these radical woke activists are now saying that as a white woman, you should feel ashamed that unless you disown the fact that you were born white, that you are white, that really then you're nothing more than a closet Nazi, that you're a white supremacist, and that only a white supremacist, only a Nazi, only a Hitler lover could support or like this ad by Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle jeans. What say you?
Jeff, I don't only support the ad. I am going to make my own little ad when I get home with these goddamn jeans. 1,000%. It's a shame that these feminazis call themselves feminists. They're body shaming women. Doesn't matter what. You should be proud of who you are. If you feel like you want to lose weight and feel better about yourself, do it. I did it. I did it for me, to make myself feel happy about myself, and I did it. If you want to be a 300-pounder, God bless your heart. Bless your heart. Do it up. That's you. But don't body shame everybody else because they're smaller or they're thinner or they're big or whatever it is. You do you, honey. You do you. You don't have to listen. I am so sick. And when I'm not sick, I am tired of listening to these imbeciles. That's what they are. Imbeciles. I hear when people say, oh my God, Maria, rah, 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 and they pick on me. When I get so anxious with this, people talk to me, oh my God, your accent. Aren't you embarrassed? I said, embarrassed of my accent? I said, let's play something here, buddy. Because I speak 4 languages. Okay? I can go anywhere. I can get 4 languages I speak. How many languages you speak? 1? How dumb do you feel? You can only speak 1. Are you dumb? I can help 4 different people in 4 different languages. You can't. You need me to help you. I am so sick and tired. I don't listen. People need to stop listening and do what's best for you.
Good for you. No, you're dead on. You're absolutely right, Maria. And I love the way you stand up for yourself. And I'm telling you, your accent is charming. My mother had an accent as well, not Portuguese, or it was, from Croatia, more of an Eastern European accent, sort of like Melania. There's nothing wrong with an accent. To me, accents are charming. Really, they're the spice of life. So you keep speaking in that wonderful accent of yours. And you keep that 100 pounds, that's incredible. You buy those jeans and you wear them. Maria, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Okay, just very, very quickly. So my wonderful sister, who lives in Tucson, Arizona, Jennifer, Jen as I call her, has sent me a text on my phone. A private text saying, apparently, this ad campaign and obviously the backlash, oh man, has this worked in American Eagle's favor. She says, Jeff, the jeans are sold out. She goes, good luck trying to buy them. They're selling like hotcakes. And my sister, who, by the way, honestly is a beautiful woman, absolutely beautiful woman, but, she's got a couple kids and she's working, and so she's put on a little bit of weight over the years. She's now on a diet. She's lost 30 pounds, and she wants to lose more. And so this is what she wrote to me as well. Not only are the jeans all sold out, but she makes the point, Jeff, if I was on the ad, do you know how many jeans American Eagle would have sold? Between 0 and 2. So, in other words, her point is, yeah, you get an attractive woman if you want to sell, products. You want to sell jeans, gets a male model, female model. They got to look good. If there's no sex appeal, it doesn't work. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very, very quickly. This is an absolutely brilliant text. And I think it lays out exactly what's happening. And this is why it is such a cultural watershed. Because now we can clearly see what the enemy is about and how we can defeat him. It's from 603. You can text the Kuhner Man, by the way, 70470. Jeff, I want to explain the agenda that's behind these division campaigns, because none of this is happening organically. If you remember, and this is so true, before Barack Obama took office, think 2007, 2008, okay, before he was elected in November of that year, most people would agree that race relations were at an all-time high. Cultural racism had largely become a thing of the past. We also know that the Marxist left needed to reignite divisions in America, essentially create a house divided. And so this campaign aims to accomplish its goal through two avenues. One, get black people and other minority groups to see themselves as constant victims who will then constantly point the finger at white people for their perceived oppression. And then two, on the other side of it, white people, and this is also very true, will start feeling extremely self-conscious about ever being perceived as something they're not, and that's a racist. So the white people will start overcompensating, which is very true, and jumping through hoops, twisting themselves into pretzels to make sure that no one thinks of them that they're racists. But it doesn't end there. And here's where the left truly hopes this will go with enough external pressure. They're now hoping that eventually white folks will have had enough of all the lies and the constant harassment, and that they will really finally start to resent minorities. And then voila, we're all back to square one, with all the races at each other's throats. A house now redivided. My advice is to see this agenda for what it is and don't take the bait. Our real enemy are not the different races. It's the globalists and the Marxist left behind the scenes who are stirring the pot of division. Brilliant. Brilliant, 603. Look, I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says. I lived through those years. 2006, 2007, 2008. Race relations were, especially in the wake of 9/11, the sense of unity, patriotism, pride, how the country came together. We weren't, we weren't, black, white, brown, whatever your skin color. We were all Americans. We bled red, white, and blue. And race relations were never better. Never better. And the country was really starting to come together. And so they needed to divide us, because that's the only way the left can seize power, divide and conquer. And that's when they brought in the dare litter, Barack Hussein Obama. And the first day he took power, he started to redefine us along race, along gender, along class. All they did for 8 years was divide. And I think 603 hit the nail right on the head. What they really want to do is not just foster this sense of constant victimology among minorities, not just African Americans, but among minorities in general. But they want to really now constantly harass white people to the point that white people are going to get so freaking upset that they're going to start to really resent other other racial groups, non-whites, so-called racial minorities. They'd love nothing more than to have us really at each other's throats. Because then they've succeeded. Because then they can play off group against group, race against race, gender against gender. That's what sexual orientation against sexual orientation. That's what the left excels in. And then they say, look, you see, we're necessary. My God, look at the racism out there. Oh, my God, the racists, they hate each other. Well, who sowed the division? You did. Who sowed the constant tension and friction? You did. And as you know, as I think it was Dave in New Hampshire, one of the previous callers, I mean, Hitler would have been long gone by now, but they just keep bringing him back and bringing him back and bringing him back. Now to the point, literally, if you're white, especially blonde hair, blue eye, but it doesn't matter. If you're white, you're a secret Hitler lover. Whiteness equals Nazism. That's what critical race theory preaches. That's what many on the left think. And now it is a profound bigotry and form of racism. It's as racist as any of the stereotypes you could think of in the past regarding blacks or Jews or Asians or Latinos or take your pick. I don't care. Basically, you're a mass murderer. Inside every white person is a genocidal mass murderer. These people are sick. Now, let me just make one last point, because this needs to be said. To show you how ignorant, historically ignorant these people are, to the point that, honestly, again, Bill in Sudbury, I would be embarrassed, but they're not embarrassed. They keep going on about eugenics. This is fostering genetic superiority. This is white supremacy. This is eugenics. Like we saw 100 years ago in the 1920s and in the 1930s. And they think that they're so smart because they can say the word eugenics and they can tie it to, I don't know, the Klan or, to the Aryanism that Hitler fostered in Germany. Let's get something very, very clear. The biggest proponent of eugenics in American history was Margaret Sanger. Literally the founder of Planned Parenthood. This is no exaggeration. Margaret Sanger was a big supporter of eugenics. And just so for the record, she didn't just hate blacks or, Latinos or Asians. She hated a lot of Europeans, the Irish, Italians, Slavs, mentioning Portuguese. In other words, the non-Anglo-Saxon, non-Nordic races. And that's why she pushed abortion. Literally, that's why abortion clinics were set up. They set them up not just in black neighborhoods. They set them up in called ethnic neighborhoods. Southern European, Eastern European, Irish neighborhoods. Why? Kill them off. The more they abort, the more likely it is that the less likely it is, forgive me, that they're going to reproduce. By the way, Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton spearheaded the drive in the 1990s. You can look it up. There is a bust, a statue, of Margaret Sanger in the Capitol building. The left built a statue in her honor inside on Capitol Hill, inside the Capitol. She's their hero. Hitler's eugenicism was based on Margaret Sanger. Much of his Aryan ideology, you know where he got it from? The eugenics movement here in America, led by, guess who? Margaret Sanger. In fact, Hitler and Sanger were friends. They wrote letters to each other. He complimented her on her work. He said she was an inspiration. So these idiots who are going on about eugenics and Hitler and Aryanism, that's the founder of modern feminism. That's the founder of the American abortion movement. Now, one final point. Who do you think, which of the two parties do you think embraced Margaret Sanger? Which of the two parties was in bed with the KKK? It was the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party was the party that pushed eugenics. That's why they justified Jim Crow. That's how they justified segregation. That's how they justified putting down not just blacks, but other minorities, Catholics in particular. And slowly, Eleanor Roosevelt, FDR's wife, just to give you an example, huge admirer of Margaret Sanger. FDR himself, big admirer of Margaret Sanger. Franklin Roosevelt wouldn't shake the hand of a black man. Someone asked Jesse Owens, who, won, how many medals in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin and really shamed Hitler and his talk about Aryan superiority. Jesse Owens cleaned our clock. And they said, why did you always vote Republican? You never voted for Roosevelt. Jesse Owens famously said, do you know that after I came back from the Olympics, Roosevelt would not shake my hand because I was black, because I was racially inferior. That's the Democratic Party. That's the left in this country. So, by the way, again, and this is really now off topic, but you need to know this. It was conservatives, it was Republicans that voted for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Most Democrats in Congress voted against it. More Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Act than the Democrats. So the Democrats have always played the freaking race card. They are the party of racism and eugenics in the United States, not the Republicans, and certainly not conservatives. Now, they've gone from white people on top, black people on the bottom, and, others, Catholics and other, religious minorities and ethnic minorities. Now they just flip the script. That's all. It's, they always believe in racial hierarchy, except then it was white oppressing black, good. Now it's oppressing white, good. But the only ones obsessed with race and wanting racial domination over certain groups is them. They've just changed the groups. That's all. That's all that's changed. By the way, one thing has come full circle. They hated the Jews in the 1920s and the 1930s. Hated them. Okay, they were right up there with Catholics and blacks, and now they hate them again. Now they really hate them again. So that they've come full circle. But this idea, when I hear these idiots, this is eugenics, this is Hitler, Aryanism, you better look in the mirror. That's on you. That's on American liberalism. That's on Margaret Sanger. And that's on the Democratic Party. 617-266-6868. And to all you moonbats out there, put that in your crack pipe and smoke it. George in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, George, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure.
I think this is a deeper battle that the left's at war with beauty, and this can go back to what the Renaissance brought us and brought beauty back, and they've been at war with it since. I can tell you just as what I do for work. I mean, most things are designed off a woman's proportion, and that's what we consider beautiful. It's just how we're genetically programmed, and that's how it's a subjective thing that we see as beauty. And, these people will drive a Cybertruck and look like they just woke up come out of a burning vehicle, the left. I mean, anything that's non-beautiful, they seem to embrace. And that's just as simple as that.
You're making you're 100% right. Actually, you're 1,000% correct. But George, I'm just curious, you're right. The left has been at war with beauty ever since you mentioned the Renaissance, which, revitalized, Greco-Roman culture, right? That's what the Italians did in particular. That's why if you go to Italy, it reminds everyone of the old Romans or the old Greeks. And that was all, Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. And so the beautiful buildings, the statues, the art. And you're right. They bring back that classical view of beauty, of a female body, of a male body. George, what is it about the standard of beauty that the left finds so repulsive? Why do they want to destroy that historic standard, that long-standing standard of beauty that we've had going back thousands of years?
I mean, my guess. I mean, that's a deep question. I think it takes a person off its game in terms of using their instincts and shutting people up. I don't know. I mean, it's anything appalling they embrace. So, I mean, they would rather have a model that did that American genes that, has a, 1 in 4 proportion instead of a 1 in 7 or 1 in 8. You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to me. It's just, they just embrace misery. I mean, that's what the modernism, in terms of architectural, that was brought back after the war, before the war and after the war, when the Germans, basically came to the States. And they use classical principles and proportions. So some of the original modernism, it's appealing. It's appealing to the eye. But,
Oh, there's no question. No, you're right. No, traditional classical architecture is beautiful. And you're right. It's extremely well proportioned. Look, my wife says this to me all the time. When we just, we have just discussions about life in general and relationships and people and dating and just that sort of thing. And she said, look, Jeff, you can say whatever you want about biological men, biological women, but the female body, just the way the body I'm not talking about a particular type of body, just the way God made a female body, okay, is much more attractive than a man. It's more voluptuous. It has more curves. It has more shapes. It's more delicate. It's more gentle. It's just more beautiful. It's just more attractive to the eye. It just is. Now, the male body is strong, it's got more muscle, it's got more testosterone, it's got a ton of hair. Usually, for example, I have a ton of chest hair. Okay, it's just nothing but chest hair all over me. It's not really, it's rougher, it may be a little tougher, it can absorb more or whatever, but it's not that appealing to the eye, that's for sure. So, even women's hair is much nicer than men's hair. I mean, just a woman's features, her facial features, much more refined, much more delicate, much more proportioned than a male's feet. I'm not saying that men can't be attractive, of course, but I'm just saying my wife always makes that point. I go, it's true. I mean, I'm just objectively, women are more attractive. They're more beautiful, whatever you want to use, than men, just naturally. And that's always has been, and that's always will be, because that's embedded in human nature. No, George, to me, this is my answer. You may disagree. The left has been at war with beauty because this is what George Orwell talks about in 1984. What the left's ultimate goal, remember, is the all-powerful state. They go on about Hitler and Nazism. Nazism was an ideology of the left. Nazism stands for National Socialism. It was a radical totalitarian left-wing movement. Something right-wing about Nazism. Okay, but let that go. It was about total state power, total state control. Big brother. That's what the communists want. That's what the Marxists want. That's what the Nazis want. What they differed on were tactics. That's what they differed on. Okay, that was their difference. The Marxists said class is going to be the vehicle to total power. The Nazis said, no, race is the vehicle to total power. That's the driving force of history. So that was the fundamental battle. But the end goal, what do they want? They want Big Brother. They want the all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing state to take over our lives. Well, if you've read 1984, Winston, the main character, falls in love with a beautiful woman. And the party has to destroy that relationship because they don't want, you see, beauty creates a natural attachment. If you find your spouse attractive, whatever, your husband handsome, your wife or whatever, girlfriend, whatever, beautiful, well, that's something that's apart from the state. That's outside of the state. that's independent of the state. Janine in Arlington. Thanks for holding, Janine, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Janine?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to be so trendy. I bought my American Eagle jeans about 2.5 weeks ago, so I'm wearing them today in solidarity.
So you're ahead of the curve then, huh?
I know. I feel so fancy. Now I'm like twinning with Sandy, so I feel really good about that. So I have a couple points. The first thing is that where was all of the outrage when Balenciaga did their ads in 2023 with the bears in bondage and the court papers and the ads with dockets from child abuse cases? You know, nobody, well, I don't want to say nobody complained about it, but there wasn't this level of outrage about that, first of all. Second of all, when we talk about fashion, you know, you don't, Levi's and Doc Martens and things like that have their own connotation, or like, just like with skinheads and things like that in punk look, you know, their look is gravitated towards like the 501 Levi jeans and things like that. And I'm not saying that Levi Strauss made jeans for that, but certain groups will choose certain fashions and certain brands to create their brand, and it's not on the purpose of the brand that creates the clothing. But I don't see people complaining about Levi jeans. I don't see people complaining about Doc Martens. They're out there buying those. And, you know, we put the word Nazi in front of things that we don't like to give it attention. And how do you feel about that?
Well, I think you're right. Look, I like Levi's jeans. I find them comfortable. They fit well for me. I tend to do chores around the house. I'll put on my Levi's jeans. I think they look okay on me. Not that I ever look good in clothes, but, you know, not with my belly, you know what I mean? But with my love handles, let's put it that way. But, you know, they look okay on me. Ashton loves his Levi's jeans. Loves them. But look, you're right. It's fashion. So it's subjective. And that means certain groups will appropriate certain clothes for whatever reason. That's not the fault of the person who makes the jeans, the manufacturer. So that's number one. Number two, look, this is the part, Janine, that we have to stop this. Like, this has to stop. We're not going to keep repeating a constant cycle of racism, manufactured racism. There's nothing wrong with being white. I'm sorry. I'm not one of these, you know, I don't like white power. I'm not a white nationalist. I don't, to me, we're all literally, I'm speaking from the heart like I'm in the confessional. I believe we're all of us are created in the likeness and image of God. I think there's a reason why God created many races, because they're all a reflection of him in some way. I believe men and women, man and woman are a reflection of God. I believe different ethnic groups are a reflection of God. So to me, that's why I believe racism is fundamentally a sin, because you're sinning against God's creation. So to me, you're born black, God bless you. You're born brown or whatever, Asian or Native American, whatever, different skin color. That's how God made you. You should be very proud of how God made you. And what your eye color is and what your hair color is and how you look, and you're tall, short, medium, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's how God made you. You should be extremely proud of who you are. There is nothing wrong with being a white person. There's nothing wrong with being a white woman. And there's certainly nothing wrong with having blonde hair and blue eyes. And, you know, think about how, look, they used to argue, if we want to get technical here, let's go. Because the left is pushing this debate, the argument that was made under slavery was that blacks were inherently too stupid. That was the argument. Too low IQ, too stupid to be able to govern themselves. The argument against Jews, the historic anti-Semitic argument, was that Jews were too treacherous and a combination of greedy to ever truly be trusted and be allowed to be full members of society. Okay, the argument against Latinos and Hispanics historically was they were too lecherous, they were too sexual, they were too lascivious to ever be properly trusted and be respectful in society. Now, that's disgusting. There are many brilliant black people, obviously. There are many chaste Latinos, obviously. There are many honorable, virtuous Jews, obviously. What they're trying to argue now is now they're trying to say, because you're born with white skin, you're inherently a fascist. You're a white supremacist. That it's in your DNA as a white person that you just want to conquer other people. You want to dominate and oppress other people. You want to mass murder other people and put them in concentration camps. Do you know how sick? It's not just sick. What it's going to do is eventually it's going to lead to massive violence against whites. If enough people begin to believe this, they're going to say, well, it's what led to the violence against blacks. It's what led to the persecution of the Jews. You keep pushing these racial stereotypes and this kind of racial hatred. What are you going to get? You're eventually going to get hatred among the races. This time it's going to be whites, and it's no accident that whites now are being targeted across the country. Look at the brawl in Cincinnati. They pulverized two white people for nothing. By the way, one of them, I didn't know this, she was Russian, literally on a tourist. She's a tourist visa. She's from Russia, Mother Russia. That was the one that got knocked out cold. Beat her to a pulp. She said, I don't want to stay in America. I don't feel safe. She went back to Russia the next day. I don't know if you saw the images of her face. Ugh, what they did to that poor woman. So you're seeing increasing hate crimes against white people. It's a fact. Why? Because they keep spreading the lies and the propaganda. White people are racist. They're just born racist. That's just how they are. And that's what they're literally saying now about this ad and this woman, Sydney Sweeney. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quickly, because we have a lot of new listeners that have been coming in last hour, half hour or so. So just quick, this is just just a small taste of these woke, feminist, liberal women, these feminazis, who are just having an absolute meltdown over the Sydney Sweeney ad promoting American Eagle jeans. Listen to here's just a taste of it. Roll, and by the way, this is a white woman, just so that you know, this is a white woman. Roll cut 3, Mike.
It's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Nazi propaganda. But a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this?
This is a trauma surgeon. I played this earlier. I want to play it again. So, and by the way, she's white, blue eyes and blonde hair. Okay, I would say, Mike, what would you say? Early 30s? 30, early 30s? Anyway, she's a trauma surgeon, very woke. Here is now what she says about Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle ad campaign. Roll cut 5, Mike.
The Sydney Sweeney Aryan Eagle ad is not only xenophobic and racist, it's also scientifically inaccurate. She says genes often determine hair color and eye color. I'm sorry, often? That's literally what they do. If they're not determining hair color and eye color, what is?
Okay, it's an ad. It's not a paper in a scientific journal. They're trying to make it seem like, in families, people wear the same genes. You pass it on from parents to offspring. Like they pass on genes, Genes. Well, you should pass on genes, Jeans. Hello? Like, either they have no sense of humor, or they're really they're obtuse. The elevator doesn't go to the top. And I'm convinced of this. This woman hates herself. I don't know what her problem is, but she clearly she's full of self-hatred. She's full of self-loathing. And, Sandy made this point to me yesterday when we were discussing possibly doing this story. And I thought it was a very, very good point. She said, look, Jeff, these are all rabid, mostly anti-Trump leftists. And rather than confront themselves and the failure of their worldview and the failure of their ideas and the failure of their ideology, they would rather keep their head buried in the sand and just hate. Just keep hating someone or something else rather than confront themselves for who they are, what they believe in, and what a failure the entire liberal leftist project has been. And I think that is very, very true. So, look, I think a lot of these, woke feminists who are now going crazy on social media or, on MSNBC or on Good Morning America or in the Washington Post and the op-ed pages or wherever, I think many of them obviously hate themselves. And they look at someone like Sydney Sweeney and for whatever reason, it pushes their buttons and it reminds them of their own self-hatred. And I'm just taking this trauma surgeon. I don't know why she hates herself. I look at her. She's obviously successful, educated. She's thin. She looks to me like she works out. She takes good care of herself. But whatever her brainwashing has been, her indoctrination, I don't know if it's her upbringing, her parents, I don't know what it is. But she feels very guilt-ridden about the fact that she's A, a white woman, and B, she's got blonde hair and blue eyes. Now, if you've got personal issues about, your color of your skin or your hair or your eyes, or that's your problem. Don't take it out on society. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Verna in Arlington. Thanks for holding, Verna, and welcome.
Hey, hi there, Jeff. Thanks so much. Blessings for this good morning. Regarding this weight and this advertisement, one brief comment before I get to that focus. I want to say that I'm white. I'm ethnically Armenian background, and we were victims of genocide. So if anybody wants to talk about genocide, let them come to our history. On the other side, when it comes to weight issues, I've shared it briefly a little bit in the past, but I am in 12-step recovery, and there is 12-step recovery for food and alcohol and drugs and cigarettes and all those other compulsive addictive habits and problems. So I found my way into a 12-step recovery program for food and weight years ago. I sent you on text photograph of my historical weight photographs as well as a current photograph, two of me. You'll see it on text if you look at it. But anyway, I wanted to say that I, over 35 years ago, my high in weight was 50 pounds. I could have gone much higher if I continued. So I've had that excess weight off for over 30-plus years. And the food plan and the recovery plan is very healthy. And I'm so grateful because it keeps me healthy. So whatever people want to complain about with weight or the way they look, there are ways out of it. For years, I dreamed and imagined and thought, well, if I could only be, a normal weight, because I was always overweight, and I had clothes that were waiting for years to fit. So I just want to put that out there for people to realize that obviously there are ways of remedying any particular situation. People might use diet programs. 12-step programs are great because there's personal and spiritual growth aspect to it as well. But I just wanted to put that out there, and I'll buy those jeans too. I would proudly wear them. I'm not even someone that wears jeans a lot myself. But I just wanted to put that out there if there's anything else.
Oh, no, Verna, look, I think you make a very good point. And look, I should lose even more weight. I'm type 2 diabetic. I've been watching what I eat now for a while. And I have been slowly, I want to stress, but I have been slimming down a little bit. And people are commenting on it. I feel better. I mean, I'm not a looker, please, far from it. But, I even look a little better. People tell me that. They go, hey, you're looking pretty good there, Jeff. I go, really? Yeah. Keep going. So, you look better. You just do. I'm sorry. And you feel better. I don't know what it is. I feel healthier. I feel better. I move quicker. I have more energy. I mean, I don't want to sound like a commercial, but really, being heavier, it's no fun after a while. I mean, you enjoy the eating, but afterwards you're like, ugh, I'm too heavy. So as my weight begins to come down, yeah, I agree with you, Verna. Really, you become a different person. So that's another thing. Like, no, we shouldn't want people to be overweight. We shouldn't want a society that's overweight or obese. Why would we want that? Everything the left is pushing, it's bad for society, but it's bad for women because we're talking about feminists. It's bad for women in particular. So I'm with you all the way, Verna. Natalie, hold on, Mike. How much time left? Okay, Natalie, I'm going to go to Natalie in Lunenburg. Natalie, please hang on. We're going to come right back to you. I'm up against a hard break. We'll take your call, take all of your calls. Natalie in Lunenburg. I know you've been holding patiently, Natalie. Thank you and welcome.
Didn't Freud say, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar? It's like a beautiful blonde girl in a pair of jeans, smoking hot, rocking them. People love that. The very fundamental nature of the human being is to be drawn to something like that. It's no more, it's no less. It's how human beings are hardwired. And it's also a beautiful thing. And there are just some women, and I can say that as a woman, I guess I have special dispensation, that are just so angry, so bitter, so negative, so uptight, that they overanalyze everything and make it sinister because they don't approve or they don't feel they don't measure up. And women are especially vicious to other women. I worked at a place once, and there was a really beautiful woman. She was a nice figure. She was lovely, and the women hated her because they were all jealous of her. And it's like, she's got it. Celebrate her. You got it, babe. Let it go. But no, they had to bring her down. They had to tear her down. They had to make her miserable. I've seen it. It was vicious.
Oh, really? So, Natalie, if you can just expound on that a little bit more. So you're saying even at a place of work or whatever, if there's a fit, attractive woman, maybe more attractive, say, than some of the other women, women will then go after that person just out of a sense of spite or jealousy? Really? Are they that petty? Not all, but are some of them that petty?
The term mean girls, Jeff, this is what it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's because it's the same way that, like, other people, like, bully somebody and tear them down because they're trying to draw an indirect comparison to themselves to show how much superior they are by ripping somebody else apart. It's the same deal. And I think it's a case of this. There's no fascism. There's no neo-Nazism. People are hardwired to like attractive people. It's a survival, the way that our species copes and progresses. Because if you have a healthy, fit young woman, genetically, that sends messages that she will produce healthy children that would more likely to survive. Women like strong men. Well, we're not supposed to anymore, but traditionally we like strong macho men because they're strong. They'll be able to earn a good living, provide for the family and protect that family. You're drawn to that. That's been the traditional model of human beings throughout history, all over the planet, every single society. Now, personally, I always thought for decades that the most beautiful woman, just my eye, that I thought of was Halle Berry, the actress. She's a woman of color. She's got amazing eyes, stunning cheekbones, and the body of a goddess. And I feel secure in my femininity to say that. She's really lovely. She's a woman of color. I think she's prettier than Sydney Sweeney, but, that's fine. But, I don't have an issue with this. And it's not fascism. It's not neo-Nazism. Everybody, give it a break. This is why people are walking away from the Democrats, because they're so miserable. They're such killjoys. You know, we want beauty in our life. They want equity. Everybody has to be equally ugly. You know, nobody can be prettier than somebody else because we got to tear them down because this is equity. Everything has to be mediocre across the board.
Natalie, drop the mic. Really, I'm telling you, drop the mic. You just did the whole show in 3 minutes. You just, really, the perfect exclamation point, the perfect punctuation to the show. Natalie, thank you very much for that call. Look, honestly, just for the record, because, you know my wonderful wife that I married, she's of Italian descent. I don't know why. I find Italian women very attractive. Nothing against Sydney Sweeney, really, nothing. But I like, more of a Mediterranean look, Italian, Greek. I don't know why. That's always the one that I've always found most attractive. But to each their own. Betty in Quincy. Betty, I hate to do this to you. 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Hey, Jeff. Oh, my God. This is beautiful. This was hitting on all cylinders. This was a home run marketing campaign. This girl was so good. I mean, she made me pedal my ass around town. I almost got on the highway. This was amazing. And, for this black activist, she's a professional victim. Let's face it. This was unbelievable. It had everything. America, start your engines. We are back. This is beautiful. She did such an amazing job. And, Jeff, we should be lifting her up. We should be lifting her up and celebrating her.
Betty, very quick, almost yes or no. Are you going to buy American Eagle jeans because of this? Betty? Mike, what do you mean you can't put anybody up? She's going to give a yes or no answer, Mike.